Welcome back, Guardian. We're only a few days away from the Shadowkeep drop, and I'm freaking tingling with excitement because I just want to get my hands on that 2.0 armor, but I figured until then, we're still going to be relying on the 1.0 builds, so I wanted to go over some of the hunter builds that I'll be using whenever it first drops, so I have a fighting chance. I already got them all put together to you. I went through every build, starting from the launch of Forsaken until now, and the builds that I've always relied on to do most of the difficult activities that the game has to offer, and I promise you, once 2.0 launches, the 2.0 armor is actually not that difficult. It's actually more simplified than you think it is. So let's jump into this. I'm going to give you my 1.0 top hunter builds, starting with the Celestial Nighthawk. So if you haven't heard, super mods are going out the window. They're not going to be mattering in the game anymore, so you don't need to have them on any of your current builds that you have. Super recharge rates are going to be so slow, so it's completely pointless. So what you need to do with this build is build it out for the ability recharge rates and your recovery more than anything to keep you alive. Starting out with the stats on this. So 438 are the stats on this build. It has enhanced bomber on it every dodge that you do, but you can use it with whatever tree that you want on the solar class. Take a screenshot of this. It's already ready to go. It's the same build that I've been using all along. Super mods in general didn't work on it before. I used to test that stuff and run around and kill things, and the faster you slay, the faster that it comes back. So super mods never really were a beneficial thing to have on any PvE build. Celestial Nighthawk is meant for boss DPS damage. I don't know how the stack is going to be with that and how it's going to be buffed or nerfed when Shadowkeep launches, but it's not one of my favorite builds. I hardly ever use Celestial Nighthawk, but when I did put it together, that's always how I would use it, just for those one single targets, and mainly focus on the ability recharge and my gunplay during combat. Moving on to the next build is a neutral subclass, but I always like to use it with the bottom tree, and that is the Stomp EE5. Bottom tree, when you would get hit or damaged, it increased your ability recharge by having that, and you get your dodge back using the focused breathing, so it was always a great thing just to have to dodge and evasive maneuvers with the bottom tree. I did a ton of testing on the video when I made this. 9 and 10 mobility were exactly the same, so I built it out, of course, just for the 9 mobility. And on any build that you've ever seen me do, I never drop below a 7 recovery. This build's actually a 918. It's using the traction version that Xur sold, but recovery is actually your resilience in PvE gameplay. I displayed this in the Power of Rusto builds if you've never checked that video out, but during our low light and Shadowkeep, I have a feeling that Stomp EE5 is going to be really beneficial, being able to hop around and be more agile when you're trying to fight all the adds and stay alive, and you have really great recharge rates with this build. Moving on to the next build is all about the Raiden Flux and the Liar's Handshake. If you're not familiar with the Raiden Flux, it's all about keeping your super lasting a lot longer to clear multiple adds or for one single target, which I think is going to be really beneficial when Shadowkeep launches. Having that extra damage at lower light and using the armor of being inside your super is a tool in itself, but we're not going to be building for that super recharge because, like we all know, it's going to be nerfed during Shadowkeep, and using super mods is not going to be beneficial at all. But you can copy and screenshot the build right there. All of these builds you're going to see for the Liar's Handshake and for the Raiden Flux all work for each other. This is a 10-1-8 or a 10-1-9, depending if you want to use the recovery mod on your free armor slot on the arms, but copy exactly how you see. This is for the top tree, and I have one for the mid tree as well. I also have one if you wanted to use Demolitionist perks too. But we're going to talk about the 1-2 punch. I talked about using top tree to get the combination blow to do the max amount of damage that you can do with this, but this was the mid tree using the ebb and flow perk, where you do a slide into them, you proc the Liar Handshake, use the 1-2 punch, use the dodge to get your melee back again, and you keep doing this cycle of just kicking ass the entire time. If you haven't seen that video, I'll go over how to use it if you want to just try that out. And here is one that's a 5-2-8 for when Grenadier is on. If you haven't farmed out a weapon with Demolitionist on it, that's going to be really useful whenever Shadowkeep launches, so if you don't have an Epicurean or an Austringer, try to farm one of those out, and that moves on to our next build, the Windwalker. So this was a Gambit build that I'd made right when the Season of Drifter first launched. We were kind of under light, and just gameplay was a little bit different, trying to adjust to the new Gambit mode, which was Prime, and I made this build to make me have more just abilities and more running gun gameplay, and I didn't want to clutch the old Orpheus rig, so I built this. So if you see armaments on any of my Gambit builds, you can replace that with whatever mod you see fit. It's kind of like your free armor slot. Use that slot for another grenade mod, maybe a recovery mod, whatever you see fit. But as you can see in the gameplay right here, that I keep getting my grenade back over and over again. And it's all because of the Lucky Raspberry, which nobody really talks about that much, but is actually a pretty damn good build. It's a 5-2-9 build, so like I said, if you want to do 10 recovery or another grenade mod for that free mod slot, that's completely up to you. But the perk on the Lucky Raspberry is the more enemies that you hit with grenades, the better chance you have to get your entire grenade back, and sometimes you can just hit one enemy and still get it back. This build also includes Enhanced Bomber, so even if you don't get your entire grenade back, you can still work towards your grenade faster by doing dodges or Enhanced Impact Induction. I like the Impact Induction better, because I think the grenade is more key than any of your other abilities that you have other than your super, but having good battle until your super is really key to have as well, with high recharge rates and high recovery to stay inside the fight. On to the next Hunter Arc build, the Shinobi's Reckoning, another Gambit Prime build, but can be used for any PvE activity to give you that plus 15 fill without needing all that armor to give you those recharge rates. I use it again with the Ebb and Flow perk, but feel free to use it however you want. But with the Ebb and Flow perk, the way I have it tuned out is where you have all constant grenades going the entire time, and these skip grenades are a really cool tool to have during combat because they do not a ton of damage, but they're there to mainly stagger and help you defeat enemies and multiple enemies at a time just by hitting them with the Ebb and Flow perk. You just do a dodge, you do a melee because they have impact induction on them, you hit them while they're electrified to get recharge rates going, and because of that Ebb and Flow perk, it recharges your dodge, your melee, and your grenade, and every time you do a dodge, you get 10 seconds off of your grenade charge with the Enhanced Bomber, so everything is always revolving around everything, so everything charges everything, which is what a great build is designed to do. You throw down the grenade, allow it to track and start chipping away health from other enemies, use your weapons to start making kills, get those recuperation orbs, start doing dodges to charge again, and then top it off with impact induction. Unfortunately, I don't have all the screenshots for this because it's an older build, but it is a 4-3-8 build with the Enhanced Bomber. If you have enhanced Ashes to Assets, I'll recommend that as well, or the Light Reactor perk, whichever is fine. Just copy it exactly how you see it here. If you have the Enhanced Impact Induction or regular Impact Induction, it's built around just the regular, so it's a bonus if you have enhanced. And then whatever chest piece you want, copy the mods, copy the perks, copy everything that you see right here, minus the armaments. You can use whatever mod you want on that free slot. I recommend doing 10 recovery. And you'll see that once you have it all put together, it's just a constant flow of using your abilities to charge abilities and getting all your stuff back to keep slaying around with. Moving on to the Wormhusk Crown and the 6 Coyote. I think Wormhusk Crown is going to be a slept on build going into Shadowkeep. Being able to dodge and get your health back at low light is going to be really useful in harder activities, and that's exactly what it's built around, is getting that dodge back to have every 13 seconds and building you out high recovery to go along with that, as well as fast recharge rates to have it all to play with at the same time. So getting your dodge back is the most key thing that I built with. On top of that was recovery, but having a base dodge charge time of 13 seconds, keeping you inside the fight, especially with the Enhanced Bomber that's on this build, gets you those ability recharge coming back. And then with the 6 Coyote, it's the exact same build. You just put the 6 Coyote on and put the same stat helmet that you had on for the Wormhusk, and you're good to go with the same outcome of stats and ability recharge and getting that recovery back by hitting those orbs with the recuperation. Having a grenade back is what gives you the confidence to be able to jump inside of a group of adds and slay them out with that extra bonus damage. So having that at your side all the time per dodge is really useful. Next up is one of my semi-favorite exotics for the hunter that I don't use that much, if that makes sense. But anyways, the more you're damaged, the more you have ability recharge on the bottom tree, and then you mix in the Enhanced Impact Induction, getting your dodge back from the focus breathing, and then sprinting in general with this exotic on gives you ability recharge, so you can get grenades back from 11 all the way to 27 seconds in actual combat. That means when you're non-stop slaying around, not when you're just standing still and not doing anything. So the more you run, the more abilities you get back. So Frosty E5 is a great exotic to use when it comes to just all around being agile and jumping around and running while you're in the fight, which is what Run and Gun's definition is. Watching that new Nightfall that Bungie put out, seems like Gemini Jester might be a great idea to use for that. And like I said, being under light is going to be used a lot until Shadowkeep drops, because I know how it feels to do difficult activities and be under light. And by having this dodge to disorient all the targets around you, you're going to have your shield broken all the time, and getting that to help you out in your ability recharge and to be able to have that disorienting blow when you punch them and the dodge disorient might be a great thing when you're trying to push adds and not be able to be pushed back against. This next build is called Strangewalker. It's when I first started doing challenge builds when Forsaken launched. It's a Hunter Orpheus rig build, and it's built for challenge soloing. So like I said, when you're under light, this may pay off by having this build on because it has plenty of dodge charge time to go invisible. The tether on Orpheus rig is obviously amazing for any fire team in creating orbs, and to be able to get your super back to use it over and over. So having this build on out of all the ones you've seen today may be the best for ad control, but that's completely up to you. It is a 7 recovery. I had to opt out to get more dodge charge time to make it a 16-second dodge instead of a 25-second dodge to keep that invisibility going over and over. Building out for challenge solo means you're doing the max handicap, which means the ads can kill you in 1 or 2 shots and melee you and kill you as if blackout's already on. So having your dodge coming back on underlight activities like that is one of the most important things to have, especially when you're a support player using the Orpheus rig. It's built around the traction version, so the build's in 917. So having that mobility as well as having the higher recharge rate for the dodge and to have the ability to recharge from the Orpheus rig when you tether ads may actually be one of the most crucial builds out of all the builds in this video. Which brings us to our final build, the Tempo, all built around the high mobility with that 8 recovery. You could do a 10-1-8 build or an 8-1-8 build depending on if you want to do the enhanced bomber or do the traction instead. Remember, the traction always adds that +1, so though it says 918, 918 traction is always that 10 mobility. But when you're under light and having just the Ophidia Spathon with the dual knives, when you get the playing with fire perk starting to proc, this can be really beneficial by having a ton of knives to throw and stagger and kill off enemies, especially if it's a solar burn activity or especially a brawler burn activity. It's non-stop throwing knives with this build on, and having the ultimate strafe speed and jump height that the 10 mobility has with the 1.0 armor builds makes it to where you're the most fluent you can be when you're on a Hunter. And I always felt that the Hunter needed more momentum when jumping forward or sideways, and having 10 mobility Hunters is really nice to have in PvE combat, especially against tougher AI that can shoot faster and move around much quicker. But Guardian, thanks for tuning in. I went through all of my old builds all the way up to date, and I think that these are just the nastiest builds that are going to be in the game whenever Shadowkeep launches. When it comes to the data that we've learned since the Beast Squad and everybody has been joining this channel on YouTube, you know the data, you know resilience is trash, you know the recovery is your resilience, you know about the recharge rates and how to build out all the armor to get the perfect stat rate, to get the mobility, the recovery, and all the recharge rates to get you just non-stop beasting. It's my pleasure to help you bros out, and be my pleasure again to let me be your armorer in 2.0, to let me get you those beast tactics. If you want to make any kind of small donations, paypal.me/Rustopholis to help the channel grow. You can also shop and support and get a souvenir at teespring.com/Rustopholis, or you can click join and be the ultimate supporter in the Rustopholis channel and join our Beast Squad. I appreciate everything you bros do, man. It is just been a dream, and I'm glad that you guys are supportive and just the beast dudes that you all are. Again, my name's Rustopholis. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video next time
in space.